Now in 1987, I left my hometown of Inglewood, California, and shipped off for basic training to serve our country in the United States Army. My story is the story of a boy raised in a working class town. It's the story of a father, a union member who died from the exposure of chemicals on the job. It's the story of a mother who became a single mom, clinically depressed while raising 2 kids on Social Security and union benefits. And it's the story of my sister who became homeless and drug addicted. My high school class looked a lot like this convention. Well, come to think of it, very much like this convention. I was one of the few white folks in my school at Lusinger High School. I've known diversity all my life, through the Army and through my upbringing. We faced life after graduation with little hope for higher education, and we had limited job opportunities. Volunteering for the Army changed my life. I was lucky. The Army taught me how to lead soldiers. Men and women, black, white, and brown, and from every walk of life. It taught me to mold teams of diverse individuals in order so that we might accomplish missions. It also taught me how to hold people accountable, how to hold folks accountable. But most importantly, it taught me to care for my team and to never leave anybody behind. These are the skills and life experiences that I'm going to take to Washington, D.C. because you will be on my team. And in 2009, the Army reassigned me to the Palmetto State. And upon arriving here, Lauren, my wife, a veteran of 14 moves during those 28 years, she declared that we're never leaving South Carolina again. We fell in love with this state, and we are proud to call it our home. Now, after serving 28 years in the Army, I retired as a first sergeant. During my travels around the 2nd Congressional District, people ask, what made you decide to run for Congress? Well, the answer is quite simple. It was President Obama. He said, be the change that you desire. I'm answering his call because I see too many South Carolinians being left behind. My name's Sean Carrigan, and I'm running for United States Congress to continue serving my country, to continue giving people a pathway to the American dream. I'm tired of folks being left behind. I've lived paycheck to paycheck. In my early Army years, my family had to rely on food stamps because my pay and benefits simply were not enough. I'm very lucky to have 3 children of my own. I have a son named Dennis. He's 23 years old, and he's a college student. I have my oldest daughter, Taylor, who's 21, also a college student. And my youngest daughter, Sarah, she's 18. She's a young, budding entrepreneur. She makes jewelry, and if anyone needs some jewelry, I'll get you connected with her and we can make a deal, okay? I know the importance and challenges of public education because my children attended public schools. As a proud dad, let me brag on my daughter for a minute. My daughter, Taylor, attends Western Carolina University, and she just made the dean's list, and I'm very proud of that. It's a crowning moment for me. She's studying to be an outdoor recreation specialist, and she's going to excel at that job upon getting her degree. Achieving higher education can always be challenging. Like some folks in here, I earned my degree while working a full-time job and raising a family. I used my military benefits to get that degree. My platform is centered around 4 key issues: the economy, education, equality, and the environment. Today I want to focus on our economy and a pathway to success for the people right here in Barnwell County. No one should be left behind, whether they live in cities, suburbs, towns, or if they live on a farm. No one should be left behind. One of our biggest economic problems is working people's wages aren't sharing in the prosperity of Wall Street. It's not news that right here in Barnwell that the poverty and homeless rates are higher than the national average. It's not news to you that elected officials like Joe Wilson have done nothing to help Barnwell keep their hospital open. It's not news to you that now Barnwell is being left behind yet again by the closing or attempted closing of the Denmark Technical School. But people are going to fight back on that one. And I got a feeling we're going to win. Folks are being left behind for no reason other than corporate greed and the lack of courage from elected officials like Joe Wilson to stand up for working folks like us. Now, Marissa is a good example. I met Marissa when she was working her second job at a gas station. She's working as a cashier. She hadn't seen her daughter in 3 days because she was forced to work long hours for low wages, and she had no medical care whatsoever. Marissa deserves a living wage, and she deserves health care insurance. In South Carolina, the state minimum wage equals an annual salary $9,000 less than the poverty level. South Carolinians are hard workers, but they're getting left behind economically. When people can't afford to go see a doctor, or have to worry about where the next meal's coming from, or constantly worry about being evicted, they can't latch on to the founder's dream of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nor can they afford to eat out at restaurants, or buy new clothes, or buy non-essential items that will stimulate our economy and benefit our small businesses, like Whitney's. We're leaving people behind who don't receive health care through their jobs. There's 477,000 folks right here in South Carolina that would be covered if Medicaid was expanded. Yet our elected officials refuse to act. That's shameful. In this wealthy nation of ours, the fact that any child would have to wonder where their next meal is coming from is an abomination. Children can't concentrate on what a teacher is saying when they're worried about when they're going to eat next. A teenager who spends hours at a job to help their family survive and pay the bills is getting left behind because that student doesn't have a fair shot at success. Furthermore, we're leaving homeless people behind. We should provide proactive treatment options for mental illness, because many wouldn't be homeless if they were treated to begin with. My sister Marlene was homeless for 10 years. She's bipolar, but she couldn't get treatment because she couldn't afford it. She couldn't afford the medication, she couldn't afford the treatment. She became homeless. 10 years. She now lives in a motel in California. Medicare for All will help millions like my sister Marlene and my mom who need mental health care. While Joe Wilson and Donald Trump are focused on building border walls, we have homeless veterans such as Dennis Reedy who are dying on our streets. I say no more. You want to say that with me? No more. No more. One more time. No more. All right. Republicans are immorally choosing to leave them behind. They want to demonize our homeless instead of helping them with meaningful resources such as safe housing and medical care. I know firsthand about opiate addiction. I've seen injured soldiers on my team, become addicted to painkillers from injuries they suffered on the battlefield. We must legalize medicinal marijuana and allow ailing soldiers, veterans, and people like us to be treated therapeutically. Farmers and small businesses will benefit from growing a new cash crop when medicinal marijuana is legalized. As your congressman, I will ensure that all people have health care, safe housing, and food security. By moving towards Medicare for All system, expenses are going to go down by 40% across the board. Today, health care is costing Americans trillions of dollars that can be spent at businesses like Whitney's. I'm going to work hard on housing programs for veterans like Dennis Reedy and other homeless people so they can get off the street and into safe, secure housing. Their focus should be getting back on their feet instead of wondering where their next meal is coming from. When we provide folks with avenues to success, they will reach their full potential and they will no longer need government assistance. I'm going to champion a livable wage of $15 an hour which is going to generate $144 billion of increased wages for people like Marissa. 40% of African Americans and 34% of Latinos would receive a raise. Ultimately, raising the minimum wage would mean that Marissa could be a mother to her daughter instead of having to work 80 hours a week. It would mean businesses like Whitney's would increase in profits. At the end of the day, it's not about taking away from the wealthy any part of their pie and giving it to working folks. It's about making a bigger pie. A bigger pie feeds more people. Leaving no one behind starts with higher wages, food security, guaranteed health care, and safe housing. I'm Sean Carrigan, and with your help, we're going to defeat Joe Wilson on November 6, 2018. Please check out my website at carriganforcongress.com. Thank you very much.